Hello. Hello, people of the internet. Cosmic
Cosmic
adults. Yeah, go ahead.
fam.
Cosmic
Cosmic
fam.
fam. Yeah.
Cosmic fam. Cosmic adults here. Mercedes and Ian Altsor. And we're going into another episode. And we're coming in quite raw. We we might say that. Quite emotional, quite raw, having processed just a bunch of things from our consciousness, from our emotional lives, and we loosely agreed that this is going to be our topic. I can't, I can't stop throwing these fingers. And we loosely agreed that this is going to be the topic for today's episode. So um, letting go, or not letting go immediately, understanding where the pain is, where the problems are, first and foremost, usually through outer circumstances, and then going deeper within to heal, to release, let go, and then get all the stuff we want in life. It's about
Everything.
it. Everything.
Yeah. Step one, heal. Step two, question mark. Step three, profit.
sounds like sounds like an awesome plan. Just
Easy,
like easy breezy.
easy equation. That's how it works. Yeah, I think I'm so glad we're laughing because literally like 30 minutes ago we were not laughing at all. So,
Not at all.
well, maybe this is like a good way to like kind of introduce everyone to like the way that like we work as like people, like one on one with clients or whatever as well. Because I mean, like Ian and I have been friends for quite a while now. And so we're used to working with each other, like through certain things or whatever. Like when I have a certain problem, I'm like, oh, Ian's the guy for this. Because he has this like uncanny ability to see exactly what it is that's paining a person. Well, I can only speak from like my experience. So he sees exactly what's paining me and he sits there and he holds that space until I can figure it out or until he can guide me sort of in the right direction that he's seeing where like the crux of the issue is, which I think is incredibly valuable. It helps me a lot in my life. And basically what was happening is like something in my life wasn't going exactly the way that I wanted it to. Not that I was necessarily trying to control something per se. Not exactly that. Would you? Okay, fine. In my opinion, I
Getting
wasn't.
there. Getting there. You were getting there.
I was getting there to the control where I wanted to control, and so it was like I could see how it was starting to interfere with all of the flow of my life, and I was like, okay, like this is not. This is where it's just like we're getting like a little side stream here, and we want to be with the river. So yeah, basically Ian's got this uncanny ability to do that, which I appreciate a lot.
And in that case, we managed to do that, and you had you know, a minor emotional release. We can say that on here. And from my end, it's almost like I think with you, it's almost like I'm always tiptoeing around something, and you're like, no, go there. This is where it is, and I'm like, fuck, yes. She's correct and she's right, but I don't want to do that sometimes. And I think Mercedes does a really brilliant job of literally like getting you to go there, and what I would say is the word like pinpointing, and I would say holding the space as well for that thing to be released and healed. So I can share quickly about what was happening. Again, I was in a situation, professional life, career life, where I was like the results that I was getting were not the results that I was actually working towards or wanting. And it caused a lot of emotional reactions inside of myself, and we were kind of like jousting back and forth, and Mercedes like, okay, now go into the feeling, go into the sensation, which I did. And in those feelings, in those deeper places, very often, if you manage to stay with them, if you manage to be with them, if you allow yourself to be with them, images start to come, memories start to come, things that happened in those specific moments where that tightness, that grip, that imprisonment sometimes happened, they come back to you. And it started coming back to me, and I understood that the gist of the situation, what I was actually going through, and that helped me understand my current situation in my working life a lot better. And this is, I think, this is what we do. This is what you do in your practice, and this is what I also do with a lot of people. So, guys, if let's say if you're experiencing things, deeper things, and I would also say if there's a constant repeating pattern that maybe not exactly 100% the same material outerworldly manifestation, but it's similar. But pay attention to the feeling that you have inside when something like that happens. Maybe it's the body, maybe it's something, feet, hands, whatever, stomach. Pay attention to that. If that starts repeating, there is a high potential, high probability that there's some, like Mercedes pointed out to me, like a karmic pattern, or some childhood wound, pain, judgment there that needs to be released in order for you to move forward in your, outer worldly material life as well. Be it relationship, be it career,
I think what you're like, because I get this question a lot, like, what is an energy block? And basically that's what an energy block is. Like, it's something energetic that's preventing you from moving forward in your life. And that's kind of it's our thing. We want you to freaking sail through.
And I think one of the reasons why we are even sharing this is like, at least for me, always when a person, let's say, who is doing the work, who is going through those things themselves, and you can see improvements in their life, or maybe they had a problem here and they constantly were going against the wall, but now they're starting to release, heal. Now they start moving into another direction, better direction. You can see it in the way they show up in their world, maybe in career. Again, a new relationship comes their way. You can see events and manifestations, and that inspires. At least that inspires me. Obviously, it's easier for me to talk about this because I can feel the liberation as well. So it's very often it's an emotional, because like Mercedes said, it's energetic block, emotional block. So it's very often also internally you can feel a lot of that liberation and move freely in the world. But when that happens, you start attracting, you start creating things more freely in the world. So that very often shows up in material ways as well.
Well, and because I think a lot of people are often creating and manifesting from their past. Like, they think that their future is going to look like their past. So they become really afraid of their future, when in reality, if you heal these things from your past and you let go of the memory and you let go of everything and you just live in the now, in the moment that you're actually in, you can see so much more and you can create so much more for yourself. And I think we're really talking about this because we both just like went through a dark tunnel and then we came out on the other side feeling more free. And then it's like a big reminder of why do we even bother? Why bother? We could be doing other stuff. I could go work at a gas station. I don't want to.
Not tremendously, no, but like this is what I've been also jousting, with is like, there's so many things I can think of myself doing, but for some reason, constantly, keep coming back, because we're not even back, but just now I'm in that path for been a very long time. But at the beginning, maybe it was like, oh, drifting a little bit here and there, and again, but still coming back, coming back, coming back. And it's something I want to say. Once you get a true taste of that liberation, I think it's very hard to walk away from. I don't want to say it's like a drug, but it's like you experience life from a totally different perspective, angle, feeling, sensation, and obviously you want more of that.
Totally. So why do you think people avoid it? Like, why do you think, let's just say, okay, so this thing that you were experiencing, oh, I don't know why I'm holding this lighter. I just,
Light it off.
I was like, how does the smudge and stuff? Why do you think people avoid it? Like, we'll take your thing, for example, where you were experiencing this thing, right? And why did it take, and I'm not calling you out, but like, why did it take me being like, hey, Ian, I'm seeing this thing. Let's have a look at it. What's going on here?
So today was a bit of a specific day. Let's put it this way, because it just happened today for me, and thankfully you were there to kind of like guide me very quickly, and I really appreciate it. But for me, how I personally, let's say, approach these situations in my own life and in my experience, I have a usually a morning time set up, like a set aside time, let's say, for my own time, meditation, etc. And I have a night before bed time also, similar, a little bit different. I do different things there, but the gist of these moments is to go deeper into these places. So let's say, for example, if we didn't have a meeting today, let's say, for example, I would have gone into that pain and feeling more deeply and internally tonight, later on. But sometimes, obviously, you're a human and I'm a human. We resist this because it's quite uncomfortable to do. And I think one of the reasons it's easier, and this is what I want to say, it's easier to do with another person, like, and especially a person who you trust, like you. I
Right.
trust you. I know, you've handled these situations. You've been there for me in those situations. So no, I can go there with you, and we can. High probability. Obviously, there's some situations. Maybe they're so deep and maybe they're so dark. They need more sessions, etc., etc. But very often I know I have that trust in you that you can be there for me or be there with me even when I go through that. So that makes it easier. It's almost like you're sharing the load with that person,
Right.
but like you can do this alone as well. Really, you
Yeah.
can do this alone, but
I
it
was
takes
gonna
more
say,
courage. It takes more
yeah.
courage.
It's a little bit more, yeah, exactly. You have to be a little bit more fearless, I think. Because like sometimes I also think sometimes you need a witness for
Mm.
certain things. Like it makes it more real. It brings it more into the reality to actually let go, to have a witness for these things.
I actually like that. You're kind of witnessed in your sometimes pain, sometimes the joy that comes after. It kind of like integrates it more. Even I would say.
Hmm.
I think I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Brings it a little bit more in. Um, and that's why I think it's important to at least get to the point where you can ask for help. You know what I mean? Like I spent years doing everything alone, like years. And then I went through this situation. The universe was like, yeah, guess what you're gonna do? You're not gonna have a vehicle. So I had like 2 weeks where I didn't have a vehicle and I couldn't get one from the dealership, like nothing was coming through. I had to rent a vehicle to go on a trip that I had already planned.
Mm.
And then for the rest of the time, I had to ask for rides. And I felt like I was, 15, 14 again, being like, mom, can you take me to my friend's house or whatever, right? And it's like that period of time where I had to ask for help constantly allowed me to open up a little bit more to asking for help. And I think that's important. And that's also where like your spiritual family comes in and the trust in the people, because every time I asked for a ride, I got one, right? Like the trust was there and it built and there was follow through. And it was like, wow, this is really a healing experience, actually.
You, I just want to, because I think you touched upon a really important part. First part is asking for help. And sometimes the asking for help can be, I go to you, for example, or I go to somebody else close to me that I really trust, and okay, so let's have a session, or let's please do a session, da da da, etc. But what I very often also do, and I think you know it best, is like even after the situation that happened today, again, I went to the place of, okay, so there's a lot of pain and frustration coming up, but I managed to, let's say, be with it and navigate it to such an extent that I gave out a call for help to understand it better, to release it, to heal it already for the, let's say, the guys upstairs, or the helpers around. And now, if you like, this is, I think, a really good example of it can happen really quickly sometimes, because you ask for it and then a person, but I didn't ask you directly, but now we had the meeting and it showed up quite quickly, very quickly. I would say it's a matter of hours, how the help arrives often quickly.
Sometimes even before you need it. And then all of a sudden it's there and you're like, oh shit. Because somewhere, somehow, like, I think we're always vibrating and energy. It's always flowing and everything. And it's like this illusion that this skin here is like a separation from the oxygen around, which is a separation from the plants that are around, like, just doesn't exist. It's all one. And that just sounds like hippie shit, but it's real. Everything is so connected, and like, you're far away, we're like on other sides of the planet basically, and yet it feels like there's no separation whatsoever. So it's just like, I think there's a lot of deeper investigation in that realm as far as like healing goes and understanding what it is that you need as a human being. Which I think is actually a really good segue into another topic that's been really fascinating me lately. Fascinating me because it's come up multiple times where there's like this thing where people are like, oh, you're spiritual. How many crystals do you have? And it's like, oh, this person has lots of crystals. Spiritual. Ding, ding, ding. That's the cute or whatever, right? Like malas or, rings, like I'm wearing this today or whatever. It's like, oh, spiritual. Literally just being a human being is a spiritual experience. You do not have to do anything other than be. That's literally the key. And it's like, I think that as a reminder for everyone that you really don't have to do anything. Like I know so many spiritual people that are just insanely gifted. And they're like, oh, I got to take this course to like learn about this and and I'm like looking at them, I'm like, sure, but like you already have that in you. You don't have to take that course. You don't have to do anything. It's like you don't have to buy all these crystals. You don't have to buy the freaking, I don't know, magical sound drum thing or whatever, like to be spiritual. It's like this image. I don't know. Do you have thoughts on this? Because
Oh, I have so many thoughts on this.
I feel like I'm kind of rambling, but like I just want to get the ball rolling here into the yeah.
I have so many thoughts about this, and I've been discussing and thinking about it for years and years now, because I went through that in my early days after awakening, or the awakening happened for me. I went through that. I have to get this and I have to get that. Then I'm finally spiritual.
Finally,
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 and you want
after all this time.
You want to know what the crazy thing is? A lot of people go through that, and you want to know what even the crazier thing is. It's again the same repeating of the pattern of I'm not good enough. So now I go into like, oh, before it was maybe some business course or whatever, I don't know what you kids are doing out there.
Yeah, what, I think we talked about this before. What's everyone
They're
else
doing,
doing?
but like, you come, you have that spiritual awakening, and a part of your, let's say ego or mind, or these parts haven't yet healed, haven't yet been met, and you come into that spirituality, even though after being awakened, into the same or with the same mindset, because you're not being good enough, this is a belief, this is, you can say, an energetic pattern, and you start it all over again in that spiritual pursuit. And this is why you see a lot of people, go into courses, go into weekend retreats. I'm not saying all of these are bad, obviously not. There are lots of good things happening, but there gets a point of burnout, spiritual burnout. I
Mm,
have to be a good
mm.
spiritual student, I
Oh
have to
yeah.
do enough, I have to, whatever, get the
I'll
most amazing crystal.
I'll go to freaking Peru for 10 months and I'll come back a shaman. And it's like
No.
that's not how it works. That's how it's been marketed to work,
Yep.
perhaps, but it's not the real deal. You meet the real deal, they live and fucking breathe this shit. It's not it's their whole human experience is living and breathing spirit, God, whatever. The the I am the essence. It's not a weekend course.
No.
You can try, but like
That's why I
I
like
think
memberships better. but
haha,
but in a way there's truth in that as well, because if there's a membership,
yeah.
you're constantly almost like forced to show up. If you do the weekend thing, you know, you do the weekend thing with one teacher, and then you go to another weekend with another teacher, there's like confusing, nothing integrates, nothing sticks, you get back on the wagon of wanting to get good
Mm-hmm.
enough. I have to get this, I have to get this, I have to
Yeah.
get this.
Well, I think that this is why I love your like saying of like take it to the streets because that's literally where you learn everything. You think you're spiritual? Go spend a weekend with your family. How spiritual are you?
I want
How
to
zen?
This is, I think, an amazing example, and even I would say two of my favorite ones to see how spiritual you are measurements is, let's say, a week with a family and living together. That's a good measure of how spiritual you actually are. Or move in with somebody, and preferably a romantic partner. Super spiritual
Mm.
immediately, but like,
Very, very spiritual, enlightening experience.
but like, this is where the wild shit happens. This is where where everything happens, and it doesn't have to be always a romantic part. It just, I hear a lot about community and building community. Live a month under the same roof with a person, and preferably a person who thinks they are very spiritual.
How many
Maybe,
crystals do you have?
yeah, exactly. Like, ask if you're looking for a housemate, ask them how many crystals they have, and the more they have, they live with them, basically, judged by their crystals. And then, once the month is over, have a spreadsheet in Excel, give each other points of how spiritual you think you are. Probably the scores are going to be pretty darn low.
Oh my God.
because
Yeah. Well,
because I just want to finish this thought by with the fact of, like, everybody has ideas of what it is to be spiritual, and everybody can show up for day two, be nice, be this and that. Once it gets to the streets of life, week in, bills are coming, stress is happening, maybe an argument, maybe a disagreement, toilet paper here and there, somebody left the cover up or the toilet seat up. Not so spiritual anymore.
mm-mm.
The inner dick comes out quite quickly.
I think I read somewhere that it takes about 3 months. people can only really pretend for about 3 months. And then true colors. Hopefully, if you can see it before then, you're a little ahead of the game. But yeah, I don't know. I think taking it to the streets is the key. I think in my learning, my experience of spirituality and whatever, like, I mean, I've done ceremonies, I've done whatever, like, and at the end of the day, it's not happening right now. I'm not in a ceremony right now, therefore it doesn't freaking matter. And in my experience, the more simple, the more truthful and real.
Totally agree. Simple is better. Simple, if you want to be spiritual, be simple. Like,
Yeah.
guys, I'll give you a way to be spiritual. Um, every night, 5 to 15 minutes, turn everything off, all the lights down, sit in darkness 15 minutes. Be spiritual. No crystals, no nothing. Naked is better, but, maybe too uncomfortable for some. You'll be quite spiritual very quickly.
You know what? I think I'll maybe tell a bit of a story here about something sort of like that, where so on my birthday this year, like I went through one hell of a year. I'll say that. I'm exhausted. And Saturn return, and oh my God. I'm happy, I'm content, but I'm also exhausted. And one of the things that I did was for my birthday, I went and I rented a cabin by myself to stay by myself. This is actually where I rented the vehicle to go. And I needed to rent the vehicle. And it was just like such a rigmarole. But I went there, and at this place, there is an outdoor sauna. Like there's like a wood burning sauna that's it's a walk away. It's not far, but it's like, it's a bit far. So I was in communion with my team, and I was like, okay, what time am I going in the sauna tonight? And I get like 10 p.m. I'm like, 10 p.m. It's going to be dark. What the fuck? No. And I'm like, are you sure 10 p.m.? 10 p.m. And I'm like, okay, I trust. And this is what this weekend was about, or these couple days was about. It was about me turning a new, like, turning 29 and challenging myself and really going deep into who I am, because I want to understand myself fully, like to the deepest extent that I possibly can in this life. And so, 9 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, okay, I'll go get the wood, go put it in there and start the fire. And I go out there with the lamp and, lighting everything up, get the lights on and all that stuff. And I was like, why am I doing this? Like, what am I actually afraid of? That there's going to be a cougar in the tree or something like that. So, and there could be, but I have faith that I'm meant to be in the future. So likely not. Anyways, by the time the sauna was heated up, I was ready to go out and walk that path in the darkness and sit in the sauna in the darkness, in the heat, challenge my body, be with my thoughts. And I had the most amazing visions. I had the most amazing everything. And then on the way out, walking back to the cabin in the darkness. And it was like this really, I don't really love the word profound for whatever reason, but it was truly profound. It was like, it changed me in a way of knowing that I can walk in the darkness and be okay. I can do all these things on my own. I came into this world alone. I can do everything. It doesn't mean that, we've talked about asking for help and all that stuff, but this is like, it felt almost like a coming of age moment, like a coming into myself of this inner strength, this inner knowing that came about. And I think that this is really truly missing in society. We don't have these coming of age moments where you put your big boy pants on and you all of a sudden grow up. Maybe you have that opportunity, but you only really have it if you bring it about yourself. No one's saying go out into the woods and challenge yourself. So this is where these deep gems, these gold nuggets are found, is when you are in these, I don't know, what do I want to say, challenge, when you're in these growth compartments, I guess.
Totes my goats. And currently our society has very little of those things. We can put military there, but for men, a little bit. But for me personally,
that's more brainwashing than coming of
like
age.
that's a very very loose thing. But yeah. But for me, I have to say, luckily, I found a group of men, which is called, I think they're still in business, which is called Reclaim Your Inner Throne. It's a men's work program, but that's all about, initiating men into adulthood, basically, and not
initiation. That's the
exactly.
word, initiation. Yeah, felt like an initiation.
So thankfully, these things are emerging, and personally, I learned a lot from that experience. And again, it was a 3-month long process, and actually I personally even stayed on. Oh God, how long I was there? I think after I did the badges, I did the coaching certification, and then I was like, how long did I work there? Like a year? I can't remember. For a long time. So I immersed myself into that experience and went through it again and again and again with other men. Now, I was obviously in a younger role and supporting role, but I was still in the sense of I went through it, and now I'm a little bit here with you guys and I'm supporting you, but I'm also doing my work again and again and again and going deeper and deeper and deeper, initiating myself into that adulthood. So if you can find these, I think these are great, but like Mercedes shared her story of, going into the woods, going into the sauna, going into the darkness to be with oneself is a really good way of initiating yourself into the adulthood, the life that is here.
Yeah. It allows for more magic, that's for sure. It's like I've never really wanted to have an average life. I always saw bigger things for myself, and I couldn't really understand that as a child, of like, why do I want so much out of life? Why is everyone else happy to just get married, have babies, blah, 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 2.5 kids, go through the machine? Why is everyone happy to do that? I never understood that. I never saw that for my life. So, I seeked these things out. I found mentors. I found things. I read all the books I could. Like, it's like, what is it that makes it that way? It's like, I think it's just the desire inside, maybe. I don't know. I question that all the time because fuck, I'd love it for it to be easier. I would love that. But it's like, I think when we were talking earlier, it's like that you almost get, like, maybe it's dopamine, but it's like you almost get that freedom rush when you figure something out, when you have that bigger thought, that bigger deep realization, spiritual download, like whatever you want to call it. It's so fulfilling. And there's nothing else like it. No food, no amount of food, no amount of like, I don't know, anything 3-dimensional can explain that fulfillment.
Yeah, awesome. I think I know what you're talking about. I believe I do.
Oh, yeah.
So, guys, if you let's put it this way. If you're looking for initiative processes, and there isn't one to be found. You can start actually initiating yourself. It is a little bit scarier, obviously, alone, but in the end, you are alone as well, a large portion of your time. So what I mean by that is you shouldn't be scared of that as well, because you know, loneliness, in the loneliness we actually grow a lot. We grow a lot, and it's much easier if you know who you are alone. It's much easier to go into company, to go into groups. You know, you know yourself, and you know you're capable of being with yourself, and even capable of being present with yourself, because that's important if you go into a relationship, if you go into partnership, if you go into a whatever spiritual group, or wherever you're going. That those moments spent in loneliness, they are extremely important in those other spaces. So initiate yourself. If you're scared at first, look for mentors, people.
That was what I was gonna say. Like, if you're looking for this stuff, it's like, have you asked? Like, if you're really seeking this out, have you asked inside, like, that's what you want? Have you quite figured out that it is what you want? No one's gonna be changing your diapers. Like, you gotta do that for yourself. And ask to find these people, ask to find your spiritual family. It's a wonderful experience.
And sometimes allow time as well for it to show up. Sometimes it takes time, sometimes it comes quicker.
Yeah, sometimes it's quick. I feel like if you're like really in the flow of everything, it just comes so fast. Oh, it's exciting. It's exciting times. And then along the way, it's like you gain so much knowledge, you gain so much experience. It's like life XP, like a big video game.
Yeah, constantly. The number only goes up in this game, you know. It doesn't really come down if you have a, I don't know, transformational event or meltdown or whatever.
Yeah.
The
What do
XP increases.
you talked about like what woke you up out of the Matrix, right?
I think kinda. Did you? I think you. Oh, we did share those stories.
Yeah, I think we did.
You felt like going again into those?
Well, I just thought, like the people who are waking up, it's like, what is it that's going to wake you up? Like, chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, you woke, but
Woke. Now we woke. We woke, yo.
this world is crazy. You know what I thought? The thought I had this morning when I was waking up, I was like, watch, because my bedroom window faces west. So I didn't get to see the sun, but like the light coming over the mountain, whatever. It was like beautiful and magical. First thought in my head, this world needs to change. Everything needs to change. This is insanity. And like I've gotten in my mind in this place where I just have like zero patience for all the bananas bullcrap. It's like I have to keep my mind on the future and what I want to see, and not on this whatever freaking warped world we're living in right now. It's like dystopian.
You could say that. That's 95p.
Mostly agree.
Mostly.
Okay, what I'm trying to get at is that I think the world has been going wrong for so long. It's like now it's really becoming obvious, these cracks, these things. It's like everybody's just been kind of going with the flow, working, trying to get this 9 to 5 grind, blah, 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 blah. Now people are really waking up to the fact that like this is actually crazy. And I saw some TikToks where it's like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be taken care of. And I think everyone wants that. I don't think we're meant to be doing this. You think our ancestors were like, oh yeah, go sit in an office? No.
I think it's a pretty big topic. It's like
Yes.
I totally get the taking care of, and I understand that point of view, and I think the creation. The most important thing that I see as a human being, one of the biggest things that a human being needs to have is they need to make great things in the world. If they're not making creating things in the world, things start really getting not good. I
So,
think
and I,
into a
yeah,
place where we are right now as a human society, because a lot of people aren't actually making creating things into the world. They're kind of like existing, and this is, I think, a big problem.
yeah. I think kind of what you're touching on is that what we were talking about earlier is people actually are creating their future from their past. So it's looking the same. And I think Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot. So it's like this book I'm reading right now. It's Ramtha, Mind Gladiators of the Future. It explains all of this, where it's like being in the now, in that very present moment, in that particle of God that's in you. Masters only focus on God, like, and then create and manifest from that, from the unknown, the void. Once you can do that, your life is basically bliss. Obviously, not a master yet. Still up in the emotions, but living my fucking life. I'm living my fucking life.
It's I think it would be very hard for a person also to, it is called a master or mastery for a reason. It takes time, in my experience, in my opinion and experience, and it needs, actually, what you said, it needs life, and it needs going into those experiences to even understand that you are living from the past, because some things repeat. Make changes, take a break, rinse and repeat. That's how mastery is. That's how mastery is, achieved. Mastery isn't, in my mind. Again, it's not about super special things. It's doing repeatedly the right things again and again and again, which in this case would be living life, understanding the problem, transforming, healing, taking a break, resting a little bit, processing emotions, and then going at it again. Going into life again, going into a relationship again, going into business again, which is again scary. Relationship, business, again scary things. But that's where the magic happens, quote unquote magic.
Here we are. Yeah.
And here we are adulting this shit.
Man. Sometimes I do listen to what we've said in our podcast because I'm like, weeks later, I'm like, what did we talk about? And it's like this weird sensation of like, how is that me? Like, how is this something that I'm doing right now? It's so crazy and out of this world. But
it takes a little while to get used to. And then it becomes, then again, at first oh, this is weird. And I'm doing this. And I'm like, whoa. But after a while, it's like, phew, I'm doing this. It gets easier and easier for me, at least for me,
yeah, it does. I think I agree. A Hondo P.
Hondo P. Hondo P Cosmic Adult Certified. Guaranteed.
I love it. Guaranteed. I was gonna say, like, we haven't really brought in the guaranteed for a while.
I think we should bring. I think we should start bringing in like a stamp, like a real Cosmic Adults stamp that we have on the show, and then we're like
guaranteed.
Stamp the screen or something.
There's got to be some video editing effect that can do that. Oh my god.
Certified. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what about the week? Are we going into the week ahead?
Let's have a look at that. So, look, the weather coming at us is looking actually pretty good this week. So we're looking at, what are we looking at? June June 12th to June 18th. I will show everyone on who's watching my super special. No, you can't see it. Ha ha. Hopefully you were quick with the pause there. Kidding. But so this is how I do it. I look at the week, I focus on that day, and a word or something comes to me. I see something, I feel something, I pick up on something. So that's how I do it. Posting everything on Instagram. So again, if you want to know more about each day, follow us on Instagram, Cosmic Adults. It's the Cosmic Adults on Instagram. Follow us there. And basically you'll also get alerted about all of our new episodes. If you enjoy listening, follow us on the Insta, and then you'll get all this information. So on the 12th.
Just one more thing. Like, share, and subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. Guaranteed. Kidding. Okay, so the 12th, the word is special. The 13th is exciting, which, okay, you know what? I think we all been going through some shit. We could use some exciting shit. Tuesday, the 14th, space. And this feels very like almost magnetic in a way this day. 15th, the Wednesday, is intention. So I think we all can gather a little bit from that. Thursday, the 16th, is switch. I don't know. I'm going to have to tune in a little bit deeper with that one. Friday, the 17th, is intervention. Big day. Big freaking day. Feels orange in a way. I don't know how to describe that other than orange.
Jupiter day, so kind of fits.
Interesting. Is that orange is Jupiter's color to wear? So wear orange. Yay! And then Saturday is snake. The 18th, snake.
The Snizza, basically. Yeah.
So it feels like a energetically very big week. Good things and strong things.
Sounds like a decent week, guys. I'm interested. I'm still with the intervention for some reason.
Do you want to go deeper into it? You want to discuss?
Do we want to bring something out here? I don't know.
Intervention, because like what I see is like intervention on yourself. Like, you have you ever watched that show Intervention, where it's like they like get the family together and they get the drug addict and the drug addict's like, no, I'm gonna go do more heroin, and it's like, oh my god. And it's like, I don't know, I look at that now and I'm like, geez, what a family dynamic, oh, we're the people that love you, so we're gonna freaking smash you into this position, and like what? How is that helpful?
Like straight into national television.
Yeah, and oh my god, and
Awesome.
we're gonna have camera crews, and like it's gonna just be sick. Your addiction is gonna be all over everywhere. It's like,
thanks, fam.
How do you think that addiction started in the first place? Do you think it was not because of you, motherfuckers? Like,
fucking over controlling, overbearing son of a guns.
Right? Like, don't you think the types of families that would do interventions would be the types of families that would start addictions in people?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what you got for us, Ian?
Like we've past few weeks we've been, from an astro point of view, we've been discussing like a couple of bigger events. We discussed the Mercury retrograde, we discussed the Saturn retrograde, we even discussed like the Mars Jupiter into Aries. Like these are a little bit bigger events, we can say. Mars Jupiter conjunction, we talked about, that doesn't happen that often. So we have basically we have, let's say, 2 events this week happening as well that are, that aren't so frequent. And we're talking about Mars conjunct Chiron, and we're talking also about Venus conjunct the North Node. Now this is an interesting one. Let's start with maybe the Mars conjunct Chiron.
Oh my God.
And Mars.
Oh my! I can only freaking imagine what's about to come out of your mouth.
I hope it's good, but Mars conjunct Chiron is happening in the sign of Aries. So obviously, most of you or some of you know where Aries is in your horoscope. So that area of your life is going to be affected. And when we're talking about Mars Chiron conjunction, it's a bit of an interesting one. First and foremost, it talks a lot about almost like this wounded warrior soul that we have, or wounded warrior part of ourselves that is inside internally for us. Now, how can it manifest in material practical life? It's a lot about like taking action, even ambition. You know, there's something maybe hurting you, maybe something stopping you, a wound somewhere stopping you from either taking action, maybe getting even triggered, which is a lot about, we're talking about Mars in Aries especially, and with the Chiron. It will be that wound, that internal wound will get a little bit, I say a little bit, it's Mars. Oh my God. I think I need to be more straightforward with this, because that's Mars. Mars agitates.
Come on, give us the goods. Don't.
Mars agitates. Mars really just like cuts quickly, but it can cut deeply into that, let's say more masculine side of that ambition, courage, even taking action in the world wound. So that can be quite a triggering there. And when I look at this in general, I would say it's quite a triggering type of week there. Do I want to say something more about this Mars? Now, if we're talking about Mars, you have a question?
Is there a day that's more intense for it?
Because it lasts for a little bit of a while. We can say 14, 15 is a little bit more intense, but it starts already from the beginning of the week. Definitely, it's quite close already. And if we're talking about Mars and Chiron together, it's almost like there's a triggering, but like the positive side and the harder side here to do is Mars is also cutting off. So cutting off whatever the wound is or the pain is, it is a possibility there. That also happens, we can say that a man comes and triggers that wound as well. It is a possibility there. But like the deeper side of this is, it's almost like a surgeon. Mars is the surgeon. So when we're surgeoning into that wound, you can imagine that it won't be, especially if we're talking about Mars, it's surgeoning without anesthesia, so it's like painful. But there is, what happens, hopefully, usually, Mars is a great surgeon. What happens after that surgery is that wound is raw, it's bleeding, but it will start to heal.
And you're going to remember every fucking moment of it.
God, I'm not looking forward to this conjunction at all, but it's like, it's all fun and games in the end, to some extent.
I think these days, like, living the life of growth or whatever, nothing really, stuff surprises me for sure, but nothing really surprises me anymore. And also, like, I want to say with the Mercury retrograde, it was like, rather than the whole thing being a garbage dumpster on fire, it was like just certain events. Boop, boop, boop. It was like not overwhelming, not crazy. It was like, oh, this is happening. Oh, Mercury retrograde. Okay, like move on.
Yeah, and we're still in the shadow period, guys, even this week after the Mercury retrograde. So, some of these events we talked about in previous podcasts, they can still come. And now, luckily, Mercury, one of the other events, or the third event that is happening, Mercury is switching signs and Mercury is moving into Gemini. So the communication, everything should be getting quicker, and communication, business deals, even like driving and things of that, things like deals and like even speaking to one another and sending messages. If there have been delays, if there have been stuff like that happening, it should start moving forward. But the thing with Mercury and Gemini is there's very often so much of it, it's almost like overwhelming for the mind to take it all in. So
What would the most like advantageous thing for a person to do? Whoa.
that's an interesting question.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I promise. That's not the question. How can someone take full advantage of this Mars Chiron situation? What would you advise everyone to sort of look at, do? I mean, obviously look at that area in your chart, but is there anything in particular other than prepare yourself?
That's an interesting question, because this doesn't happen very often, and especially in the Aries sign. So, and it's quite a, when we're talking about Mars and Aries, it's quite a, rough around the edges type of energy there. Especially when we're talking about an action or our masculine side, and now it triggers our wound as well. So I do see a lot of kind of like messiness there, or like rushing and things like that. So obviously if you can, God, it's like Mars, I'm still in the place of you need to just go, like Mars is direct. We need to go direct as you can, go through it, and then I think the triggering will be there regardless. But if you go directly into the source, or into the thing, with courage and with ambition, maybe dial down on the ambition, with courage, let's put it that way, and then it's easier to surgeon out whatever it is that needs surgeoning out there.
Nice.
And I think we should talk about like the Venus North Node conjunction as well. This is an interesting one, happening in the sign of Taurus as well, and we have the Uranus quite close. But let's maybe for now focus on the Venus and North Node, because this is a couple of days. Obviously, we can say almost the entire week is under the influence of the Venus North Node conjunction as well. And when we're talking about North Node is very much where our attention, our intense intention and our desire goes towards. So when we're talking about Venus in Taurus, well, we're talking about relationships. Definitely, we're talking about relationships. So one of the things, and there can be almost this intense desire, intense need for somebody. I have to have this person, I have to be in a relationship, I have to have this partnership, I have this desire for them. It can be quite intense, and like the screws are tightened of that intensity and the curiosity towards these other people who are maybe around us, who are we kind of interacting with. The other side, where the curiosity intensity goes with this, is definitely money, with the resources. And right now we're obviously in a weird situation where a lot of Europe is in a weird situation where the thing that is happening is there's food shortages, the prices of food are going up, and the prices of goods, which is all about Venus and Taurus, food is going up. We're going to see more of that, definitely, and I do think we will see people almost like bulk buying and gathering more resources for the future as well, which looking into the autumn isn't such a bad idea. I think it's actually a pretty darn good one. But also money, we should mention with Venus North Node as well. Well, the intensity, the desire that I need to have it now, and I will do. Because remember, guys, North Node is also like, it's almost like I will take the steps or I will skip the steps and I will jump the hoops to get what I need right now, what I desire right now. If it's a person, if it's another relationship, I need to get it now. If it's money, if it's the goods, if it's some, Taurus is also the pleasures, the kind of like the five senses. We can put sex into this, but it's also the food, the restaurants, like enjoying ourselves. We need to get it now. We want more of it. And that can get a little bit intense, especially for this week. And, if the recommendation is there to observe that intensity and to kind of like ask, like, why do I need these so intensely? Do I need to get them now? Do I need to jump these hoops? Do I need to skip these steps? If we're talking about, preparing food for these situations that we're in as a society, I would probably err on the side of yeah, that's probably fine, of having some things put aside for us.
I've been just buying two every once in a while, I have a grocery delivery, so I get butter every time, like just couple things that I'm like, I went inside my mind and I was like, what would I really miss? Like, what would I just be like, ugh, I wish I had this freaking one thing. First thing was butter. And then sugar and rice. Those are like the three things that I was like, I would miss those things. Coffee was on that list too.
Like, these are, I think, okay things to have backups on, and like Canada is a little bit obviously in a better situation because things grow in Canada. Canada has oil even, so Canada is in a little bit of a better situation. But
let's not get into that because holy shit.
Yeah, obviously weird stuff can happen. But like the intensity to gather these things, to gather these resources is there. Like the word is constantly repeating in my mind is hoarding. So the energy here I can see definitely is hoarding a little bit. So maybe if you start to notice yourself to go into like very tight, like squeezing and hoarding these things, maybe you're drifting a little bit too far into the extreme. But these are some of the things I do see for this.
Give your pumpkin a shake.
Is this a Canadian thing?
That's a Canadian thing. Give your pumpkin a shakey.
Jesus.
Fuck. Yeah. And here we are at the end of the episode.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think we went into some really neat stuff that we've never really talked about too much before. I mean, we've touched on some things, but I think, yeah, thanks for Cosmic Fam. Thanks for listening and being with us through this because, as we talked about, we really like doing this. We could be doing I could be working at a gas station. I could be cutting hair. I could be doing all kinds of freaking things, but nope. Universe has us right here doing this. So we are always grateful for everyone who is coming along on this journey with us, growing with us, remembering that we're also human beings and we're learning too. And it's just a freaking big pile of fun. I love it.
Yeah, thanks guys for coming and adulting a little while here. And remember, take it to the streets of life. Take your spirituality, take your things to the streets of life and experience things. And if you're in a transformational period, let's say, maybe, obviously there are times for rest and recuperation and in healing alone. Of course, don't rush yourself to the streets of life. But the juice is there. The juice is there. Whenever you start at least tiny bit feel ready, go into the streets of life. Thanks so much for listening. See you soon. Peace.